Greetings. This is the Get To Free Press, and we report what others ignore. This is your First Amendment right to know without whiteouts from a controlled news media whiteout network. And we are located in Valdosta, Georgia, and we are here to inform, educate, and persuade if necessary. Always keep that in mind. Moreover, I want to say to you that as a community, state, nation, and world, we are not who we claim to be, but who we prove ourselves to be over a given period of time. And if we are a liar, time will tell. And if we are a racist or a hater, time will tell. And our righteous and holy God already know. So you are only fooling yourselves. Greetings. This is the Get To Free Press, and I'm George Boston RHYNES. As I look at what the president said about liars and fake news and all these accusations about shutting the newspaper down and suspending their license.
The First Amendment and free speech is really important to me as a progressive, and it also should be really, really important to libertarian-minded individuals. Free speech and the First Amendment should be really important to the constitutional fetishists on the right, as I call them, because, again, the First Amendment is part of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and it's increasingly disturbing that the current White House under President Donald Trump has been systematically attacking the institution of free speech and making us question whether the First Amendment is in danger in some way. Further, because of the attacks on facts, as we've seen from alternative facts and so much else of what's come out of the Trump administration, the opposition's use of the First Amendment and free speech has never been more important to defend journalism, to combat religious idealism in government. And Donald Trump's positions and actions have been an affront to many of these protections that I thought were guaranteed by the First Amendment. This includes freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and separation of church and state. Let's put up an image here for you from Donald Trump. I want to call your attention to something we covered before the inauguration of Trump, where Donald Trump tweeted about burning the American flag, saying nobody should be allowed to burn the American flag. If they do, there must be consequences, perhaps loss of citizenship or a year in jail. This is an issue the Supreme Court, as I told you at the time, had already decided on. In 1989, they decided about this, that what Donald Trump was suggesting would be a violation of the First Amendment. And by the way, the Supreme Court also decided in 1958 that taking away someone's citizenship as some kind of punishment is unconstitutional under the Eighth Amendment. What do you think the chances are that Trump had any idea that much of what he was saying had already been counteracted by the Supreme Court in indicating that it would violate the Constitution? We already know from Trump's past defamation lawsuits that he's prone to limiting people's speech on legally questionable grounds. In 2006, Donald Trump sued a journalist who said Trump's not as rich as he tells people. Trump lost in court. In 2012, Donald Trump threatened to sue a journalist for a column that called Donald Trump a clown and pointed out that this Tampa skyscraper Trump was going to build was never built. In 2013, and this one more of our audience probably knows about, Trump sued Bill Maher because Bill Maher made a joke about Trump being the son of an orangutan. Trump ended up withdrawing that lawsuit. In 2015, Trump threatened to sue a think tank because they ran ads that criticized Donald Trump's political positions on taxes and health care. And last year, in 2016, after a Las Vegas restaurant union handed out some anti-Trump flyers, Trump sued them for trademark violations. That lawsuit is still pending. So the attack from Trump as a private citizen on people being able to say what's on their mind has been steady and concerning. And during his campaign, we actually saw the American Bar Association draft a report saying that Trump is what they call a, quote, libel bully and an abuser of libel laws. The association decided not to publish it because they were actually afraid Trump would sue them for libel for punishing it. And during his campaign, Trump actually said he will try to open up the libel laws against journalists, yet another way in which freedom of the press would be stifled if Trump had his way. Remember this?
I think the media is among the most dishonest groups of people I've ever met. They're terrible. And believe me, if I become president, oh, do they have problems. They're going to have such problems. I'm going to open up our libel laws so when they write purposely negative and horrible and false articles, we can sue them and win lots of money. We're going to open up those libel laws.
Yeah. And the key thing is the first thing Trump says when they write negative things. The free speech and free press provisions in the First Amendment exist in large part to allow people to openly and freely criticize the government and its officials without fear of reprisals.
Trump got a resounding applause when he said that he would open up the libel laws.
Who even knows
Does the average American citizen even care about that?
No, they don't. I don't know about care, but they don't even know what he's talking about. That's the reality. And we know how thin-skinned and authoritarian Donald Trump is. His MO is antagonize anyone who questions him until they back down. Kellyanne Conway's Orwellian threat, Freudian slide there, threat to limit the press's communication with the White House if they don't like their questions is another example of this. Chuck Todd asked a totally legitimate question that we've all been wondering about, which is, why did Sean Spicer, the press secretary, go out there and lie to everybody about the attendance to Trump's inauguration? And Kellyanne Conway responded by threatening to cut off NBC's access to the president's staff. Take a look at this. We've played this before, just a reminder.
Did not answer the question. Why did the president send out his press secretary, who's not just the spokesperson for Donald Trump, he also serves as the spokesperson for all of America at times. He speaks for all of the country at times. Why put him out there for the very first time in front of that podium to utter a provable falsehood? It's a small thing, but the first time he confronts the public, it's a falsehood?
Chuck, I mean, if we're going to keep referring to our press secretary in those types of terms, I think that we're going to have to rethink our relationship here.
The threat of losing access, another way to stifle the free speech of media outlets. Donald Trump has also shut down the White House comment line, a phone number that people could call to leave a message for the White House. It's being reported also that signatures on petitions on the White House website are not being counted. Trump is not allowing certain federal agencies to communicate directly with the public, such as issuing news releases or responding to questions. And there are legal experts arguing that all of this violates the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act of 2012, the whole point of which was to ensure that agencies are able to report waste, to report fraud, to report abuse. The Trump administration is also going in the direction of suppressing free speech with their anti-net neutrality efforts, which directly threaten free speech and equal access to airwaves and media. This applies to web content publishers. This also applies to people just accessing web content. I've told you before, Trump seems to have very little clue what net neutrality is, but he's been against it for a while, and we see this through his appointment of Ajit Pai, a former Verizon lawyer, no less, to be FCC chairman. He's undone about 12 Obama-era consumer advocacy policies and proposals, including the Obama administration's net neutrality efforts to classify internet service as a public utility. That's hugely important in preventing internet service providers from discriminating against internet traffic. There's a whole host of ways, including trying to keep prison phone rates down, which Ajit Pai has pushed back against the protections that the Obama administration tried to put in place. And then lastly, separation of church and state. Of course, there's plenty of arguments that can be made that Donald Trump's Muslim ban violates the separation of church and state clauses of the First Amendment, which we've already talked a lot about. But Donald Trump has also vowed to, quote, totally destroy the Johnson Amendment, which prevents religious leaders from campaigning for political candidates. This also would violate the separation of church and state aspect of the First Amendment, because it would allow religious organizations to have political activism functions and still get those tax exemptions that they're only supposed to have because they're not doing politics. The assaults on the First Amendment, Pat, are probably half due to Trump being an authoritarian, right, fundamentally, and then another half due to just Trump's ignorance about basic civics and how government is supposed to work.
And I mean, really, Trump's constitutional issues expand far outside of the First Amendment. He really doesn't have much respect for the separation of powers. Remember, even just this week, he attacked that justice who struck down his travel and refugee ban, calling him a so-called judge.
Indeed.
And then there's an argument to be made that he's in violation of the emoluments clause by accepting gifts from foreign dignitaries. But I think the First Amendment is probably most dear to Americans' hearts.
Well, as progressives, the First Amendment is one of the fewer things that we will have during the administration with the Trump White House and a Republican House and a Republican Senate. But you're right, and the irony of it, it's sort of a sick and disgusting irony, is that the guy from the party which supposedly reveres the Constitution like a religious document is the guy who might be in violation of the Constitution in multiple places. And I call it an irony, sort of to laugh instead of cry, I guess. But we have to activate around these issues of speech because the suppression is coming fast and furious from the Trump administration.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So, well, no, you know me, man. I'm a vibe, but I'll do exactly what you
in this area, you will get arrested, okay?
Okay, what can I try?
Well, you need to stay right here.
Okay, they got a public meeting down here, so you're telling me I can't go to the public meeting?
I do not know anything.
I got you, but there's a public meeting.
I understand.
I'm not going.
I've been told.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that there's a public meeting down here, so you all telling me that I cannot go to a public meeting, and I haven't violated no law.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna do like you're saying, but
you have a criminal trespass warning for the area of Lowndes High School.
Okay, everybody, all of us do.
No,
well, I do.
As far as I know, it's just you.
Is that right?
As far as I know.
Okay, I don't want to hold up traffic. What you want me to do? What you want me to do, bro?
Go back out this way.
Okay, man, this is gonna be interesting in court.
RHYNES, and I have just been informed by the sheriff deputy that is behind me to my right. And I was informed that our trespass warrant has been issued against me here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia, not to enter any area of Lowndes County High School property. This came as a complete shock to me. Based upon what I've just been told by this deputy, that I could have been arrested at any time. I was out there on property a few days ago, putting up a podium, walking on the property, not knowing that a warrant had been issued or banning me from Lowndes County High School here in the state of Georgia and in the United States of America. I have never violated any law here in Valdosta and Lowndes County that is recorded in record that I am aware of. Didn't I tell you all Valdosta Daily Times, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, HLN, 60 Minutes, 48 Hours, CNN with Victor Blackwell, who I told about what I'm about to talk about? Didn't I tell you all that when I was stopped on May the 25th, 2013, and put under a criminal trespass because I was apparently publishing information about the KJ death case here in Valdosta, Georgia, and no news media would even publish that the sheriff department here in Lowndes County issued an illegal, unjustified criminal trespass when I violated no law. This is a continuous practice. This is about the 4th time that I've had problem with law enforcement. The Lowndes County Sheriff's Department under Sheriff Prime. We must make documentation that I, George Boston RHYNES, have violated no law in Lowndes County. Yet I have been issued a warrant not to go on Lowndes County taxpaying property, wherein there was a public meeting this morning. I was told that there was a Board of Education meeting on this area, the old field house, in the old field house. So I believe there's a great possibility that my constitutional rights have been denied. And most sickening than put me under a criminal trespass as a member of the press. As a member of the press. Victor Blackwell, I told you about this in Macon, Georgia. And I thought you was going to at least publish this after the Valdosta Daily Times and no other news media network here in Valdosta and South Georgia would even publish that I was placed under a criminal trespass, banned from going on any Lowndes County school property in the state of Georgia, and I violated no law.
Sir, I need your, you got a card? No. Okay, what's your name? Stephanie Thomas? Deputy Thomas. Yeah. Okay, what my attorney asked me is to request from you a copy of that warrant. My attorney, C.B. King. I just called my attorney. And I know you ain't got that. You talking to the wrong person. I understand, but I'm doing what he asked me to do. But you do not, first of all, you do not have a warrant. Okay, well, with a warrant, you would have been arrested. Right, okay. It's criminal trespass. Warning, a criminal trespass warning. Right, I got you. Yeah, right.
But I cannot give you a copy of that. You talk to the sheriff about that or next person in charge.
Okay, so can you radio him now? Because it's very serious. I mean, I got
directing traffic.
Okay, well, I just want to
direct traffic. Somebody can get seriously hurt.
I understand. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you, man. I ain't got nothing against you, man. You know that. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And so I told you all, it's just like how the police officers are shooting down black people on the streets. I'm not talking about black police officers. I'm not talking about white female police officers. I'm talking about white men shooting black people down on the street. And for the most part, nobody seems to care about that. But if you go back and watch my videos, you will see where I told you all about that. Moreover, I told you all this, that today is the black man, but tomorrow it's gonna be every man in the land. You thought it was just the black man that they could stop and put him under a criminal trespass for nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet. CNN, you haven't seen nothing yet. You sit there, CNN, and you publish all these opinions, mostly from white men.
I'm going to let you know we decided not to answer any questions. That was Mr. Harris answering y'all those questions, so I respect y'all not to ask the media any questions as well. Just stick to your statement and be done with that. So we're not going to answer any questions because of fear of manipulation. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Ms. Olivia Pearson, City Commissioner.
Thank you, again, thank you, Mr. Worthy. To begin, I'm going to fall back on something that Mr. Presley mentioned. He said that you stated that it had nothing to do with the group. Well, I'm not sure that you stated it didn't have anything to do with the group. I know just a minute ago, Jerry Hudson said it was mainly on Douglas Now, was mainly about Bobby Worthy.
His article was.
Not quite. Supported by Commissioner Pearson. That's what he stated, which was a total lie because I had nothing to do with Bobby Worthy and Larry Neesmith. That was totally separable from this whole thing that you all have blown to hell, because that's what you've done.
Your name wasn't on that flyer for it, for the meeting, as a supporter?
Who held the meeting? You asked me a question. I'm asking you, who held the meeting?
I did, and you didn't answer it. Wasn't your name on that flyer?
I held the meeting. Sure, my name would be on it. Well, see, that's where you went wrong.
That's all we said.
No. That's not all you said. That's not all you said. You said supported by Commissioner Pearson. What was supported by Commissioner Pearson?
The meeting.
The meeting that I called, that's exactly right. I called the meeting. The Justice League did not call the meeting, first and foremost. They didn't call the meeting. I held a meeting through Southern Rural Black Women's Initiative for Economic and Social Justice. I invited Mr. Bobby Worthy and the NAACP. Let me finish, Mr. Hudson.
That was the point of the article, the mention of you.
No. You claim that the Justice League held this meeting, which was a lie. It was a lie. You said it, as well as the Douglas Enterprise said it. Justice League did not hold a meeting here in Douglas, Georgia. Southern Rural Black Women's Initiative held a meeting. I invited Mr. Worthy. I invited Mr. O'Hara as district rep for the NAACP. I invited Mr. Hal Presley. And matter of fact, I invited the entire community of the city of Douglas, Coffee County, Georgia. I announced it on my city council meeting. So why in the world tell me would I hold a meeting that's going to succumb to or support hatred towards white people or any other people? Why would I hold a public announcement of a meeting like that? I haven't been in office for 15 years to do something so low down and dirty. See, you had your facts, you had your statements incorrect. Had you all given us the respect and decency to come and ask a question, Luke, you were at the meeting when I announced about that flyer. If you had a concern or an issue about it being to hate white folks or kill white folks, seemed like to me you would have had the courtesy, being that you were there, to have came to me, Commissioner Pearson, what is this about? But no, not one of you, journalism fellas or lady, I'm not sure what part you played in it. So if you did play a part, excuse that comment. Not one of you had the decency or respect to come to me as an elected official and ask the question, what is this all about? A decent journalist who is seeking the truth has a moral and ethical obligation to go and get both sides of a story and not just print one side and not just assume. And none of you did that. So yes, I feel my life is threatened with something like this, and you sat there when Mr. Presley asked the question, have you gotten any feedback from anybody? Nobody would say anything. You didn't answer it. But I already know the answer to it. You've gotten feedback, because I've gotten feedback. I've gotten feedback from white people. I've got feedback from black people. And they're not satisfied with it, black or white. And they have all said to me, Olivia, we know that's not true. So some people who might not know me might not know, but those who know me know I wouldn't take part in anything that's going to deal with hatred or killing or anything in breaking the law. So on now today, you all want to come and be a part of this press release, this news conference on today, after you have done your damage. Because like I say, damage has been done. Because don't everybody know all of us and what we stand for. It's just the grace of God that those who do know us know we wouldn't dare partake of any such foolishness.
Amen.
And I feel like what you're doing is displaying what you have in your heart to print something like this.
Amen.
Yes. I can say to you, not one of you have ever had me to say anything racist to you, to say anything about hatred to you. In dealing with your media and dealing with me, none of you can say that I've ever said anything racist. If it's right, if it's a fact about what has happened, and it might tend to lean on one side of the color line or the other, call it what you may. But God be my judge. He knows my heart. And know I wouldn't partake of anything such as this that you all have intended to influence this community to believe. Amen.
That's right.
It's totally ridiculous.
That's right.
It's totally unacceptable. And we are not going to tolerate it. So now you want to go and dig and talk about the use of the Coley Center. Get the records about the Coley Center. You dig on and see what you find. If anybody got any money for using the Coley Center, it definitely was not Commissioner Olivia Coley Pearson.
Right?
I have never used the Coley Center or any facility of the city of Douglas in an inappropriate manner. That's why I announced the meeting of that we were having on October 3rd. That's why I announced it at my city council meeting. And I said then, anybody who is concerned about the community and would like to help and take part, please come. That was my request. But you all are tending to try to divide this community more and more and more. I'm concerned as to who employs the Douglas 9 employees, as well as the Douglas Enterprise. What do these people stand for? I'm really surprised at this time. I'm surprised because your editors should have told you, go get the other side. See what they have to say about it before we print this.
Should have been fact checked.
It should have been.
Should have been fact checked.
And it's sad. It's sad because it's too late in the day with too much everything that's going on in our surroundings and our communities and our different states. It's too much and too late in the day to try to print something like this to make white folk feel that they need to go and buy guns, which was announced at a church meeting. Announced at church by a white lady that she needs to go and buy a gun because of this group that has been formed. And I suggest to the rest of y'all that y'all go by one is what she was quoted as saying. So if it's in y'all's heart to cause this kind of deliberate tension and division, you need to go check yourselves.
They damaged the community.
You need to go check yourselves. God is not pleased. God is not pleased. When I chose to run for office, I found all kind of opposition. Some by black folks, but some by white folks. And ever since I've been in office, I've had to deal with you all saying statements that were not true, trying to blemish my name. So whatever it is you're seeking, I hope you find it. But I can tell you, my name is not going to be blemished because the people know what I stand for. When I talk to the white city employees, Commissioner Pearson, we know you're not like that. But like I say, my concern is the people who do not know me. Who do not know me.
Amen.
Because my mother, an honorable woman, who I got emails and texts from people telling me, when I expressed what was going on my Facebook page. They said, we know what your mother stood for. We know she didn't raise you that way. But I'm wondering, how have you all been raised? Yes, I'm wondering today. I'm wondering today. Because somebody from the media should have had the decency to see the true facts, so justice would be known and would prevail. That's right. This plaque, since you all say recent altercation shines light on new militant organization, that's what y'all said. That's what y'all said. And I'm trying to find out where's this militant organization at. Because it's not us. It's not us. Some of us can barely walk. We are elderly. Walking with sticks. But we are militant. Because we state what is the truth. We're seeking to make the community better, which is what I said at that city council meeting when I announced that meeting on October 3rd. So how did militant organization come out of it? It's wrong. The meeting I had, Southern Rural Black Women, has been here in Douglas Coffee County since 1999. And I was asked to chair and lead this group. Southern Rural Black Women's Initiative for Economic and Social Justice. Not just justice for black people or black women, but it's geared toward women. Because women have had a difficult time finding daycare, someone to keep their kids so they can go to work, trying to finish and get a GED so they can get a good job. That's why this group was formed and has received federal monies and money from private groups to help people who are a part of this to better their lives. And you would take the meeting we held, which was hosted by Southern Rural Black Women, and distort the facts. Shame on you. Shame on you.
And white women. But you won't get the common man on the street from the black community, from the black community, from the black community, from the black community who have fought the wars for this nation. It is indeed disgraceful, number one. Number two, it is distasteful and downright disrespectful. When we look at CNN, MSNBC, and you can pick the rest of them, they'll have a whole panel of white people giving their opinions. But the black man and the people we respect, you never get to hear their opinions. They put a few cooking Negroes up there, and I'm not talking about the cooking Negro. Why don't you get some of the black leaders in our community, because they have an opinion too. We fight the wars for this nation. But it's okay. I'm warning you, America, as a man from South Georgia, you think you're doing something because you can arrest our young black men, put them in jails and prisons by all white juries. You might put one Uncle Tom or 2 or 3 blacks on the jury. America know when they see juries. Most American people have never seen an all-black jury in their life. Let alone, well, you may see a majority black jury, but they very seldom, if you should see one. And you sure don't see a majority black jury when they deciding the fate of white people, especially if they are the high echelon or status in the community. And so somebody who loved this nation gotta speak up. All of us can't go to sleep. All of us can't sit there and look in a dually home and don't say nothing. You see, I was brought up here in South Georgia, and we have something we call doolies. Now some of you white folk don't know about a dually, but there was doolies. They got little holes in the ground there, a little circular thing out in sand. And we would be real quiet, and you couldn't tell they was in their hole or in their home. But then we would start, the little children would get around, we would saying, wake up, dooley, 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 wake up, dooley, 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 wake up, wake up, dooley, 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 wake up, dooley, 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 wake up. And sooner or later, you see the dooley come up. No dooley's gonna come up and let you call them. I mean, where you can see them, they come up when they want to, but we call them up. So today, we got churches, we have mosques, we have temples, we have buildings of worship and coliseums. But when we say to our spiritual and religious leader, wake up, dooley, 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 wake up, dooley, 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 wake up. So we look for our pastors to come running. Wake up, dooley, 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 wake up. Our children going to jail and filling the prison. We need your help. Our imams in Islam, wake up, dooley, dooley, dooley. But they don't come. Go to the synagogue. Wake up, dooley, 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 wake up, dooley, dooley, wake up, spiritual leader, dooley, wake. It's kind of like the old spiritual. Way down in the valley, but I couldn't hear nobody pray. Now, they got game players. So in closing, here's the gist of this video today. I just want to say to you that you thought it was just me, Valdosta Daily Times, that you was ignoring, and the national news media network. I'm here to tell you, if you all don't stand up for my rights as a member of the press, if you don't stand up for common citizens' rights in your community, when they take away their rights, you think you getting away and you can laugh at them and call them silly and call them stupid and tell them you ought to just let that go. Well, it's me today, but tomorrow it's going to be you. And this is why I'm going to continue to say to the children at Valdosta State University, the children at Georgia Military College, the children at Wiregrass Technical College, the children who go to Wild Adventures Theme Park, the men and women who travel here to go down to Kinderloo Golf Course and Francis Lake, even the people that are stationed at Moody Air Force Base serving their nation. One day, parents, I ain't talking about black folk, I'm talking about white folk. White folk, white folk, I'm trying to tell you, man, they got me today, but they gonna get you and your children tomorrow. And then when you go to the Valdosta Daily Times and say, Times editor, I want you to publish my story, they say, oh, wake up, dooley, 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 wake up, wake up. Nobody's gonna get up for you either, man. Ain't nobody gonna get up for you. Then you gonna see what they mean when they said that they thought they were free and they found out they were not, they were just asleep. But now people are waking up. If you can read the Times, my grandmother told me to always read between the lines. And when you read between the lines, you will understand what's going down. And won't nobody be able to trick you. This is where we are today, y'all. We must wake up. We got to stop letting these weak.
I'm a minister at the First Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, and my grandchildren attend school out there. Yes, sir. And there were some things that I was kind of concerned about, because I had asked a gentleman by the name of George Boston Ryan to come in and video my granddaughter's graduation, and he was stopped and said he wasn't allowed to come on the premises, and we was trying to find out what had he done that he couldn't come out there.
He was stopped by who?
By the sheriff department. He said that he was given orders by you guys that he wasn't allowed on the premises.
Okay. I think that may be something you'd have to take up with the sheriff's department. Okay. So you guys, it's okay if he come out to the premises if something come up? No, sir. What I'm saying is I believe that there was, and I don't know what they called it, some sort of order based on something that happened in the past, that I believe that there's something in place. And again, I think either he would need to discuss that with you or possibly the sheriff's department.
Oh,
Okay. So I do believe there's something in place. I don't want to tell you something that's not right.
Right. Right.
But I do believe that is accurate.
Right. Well, all right. Well, I tell you what. Can you set an appointed time that I can come in and sit down with you?
Yes, sir. I would be glad to.
What about tomorrow sometime? What would be a good time?
I'm not going to be here tomorrow. Hold on just a minute. Let me turn this calendar around.
All right.
Can you see your calendar?
No, I'm not. Not at the present time.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this. Is there a particular day of the week that's better for you?
What about today? What about Friday morning?
Well, we're closed the rest of this week. That's what I was calling.
Okay.
This is part of the time when...
Well, what about Monday of next week?
All right. Let me open this thing up. Monday is June the 3rd.
Yes, sir.
I've got on Monday and Tuesday of next week, I'm meeting with we have 12 schools. I'm meeting with all of our principals on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
I've already got all of them scheduled.
Well, I'm scheduled to go to Atlanta. I got to be in Atlanta on Wednesday and the rest of that week, so I can't make that one.
All right, well, hold on just a minute. I'm just flipping over the next week, which is Monday the 10th.
Okay.
I've got a principals meeting that day. Hold on, we'll get us a day. Hold on just a minute. Let me turn this thing over. That Thursday morning, which is the 13th, and I know you may not know off the top of your head, but that may be a possibility we could shoot for.
Okay. Well, you busy the rest of the day?
Is that on the 13th on that Thursday?
Well, yeah, but what about today?
I've got somebody scheduled at 3 and then somebody after that.
All right, well, we just make it for that time then, and we'll see what we can do, and I'll give you a call back, or we'll get back in touch.
All right, so you want to set a time on that morning, or you want to just wait and call me back? Whatever works for you.
I'll just call you back.
Okay, all right, that'll be fine, and we'll get a time that'll work for both of us, and I'll be glad to.
All right, well, as of you know right now, there's nothing that you guys have done to say that George RHYNES can't come on the school campus.
I think there is something in place through the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Yes, I do think there is, but
all right.
I prefer that he either talk to you about that or the sheriff's department. I don't want to tell you something that's not right.
Okay, all right. Well, that'll work then. All right.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Y'all gotta stop letting these wicked people make fools out of you. You see, they want you to fight a man because he's white. They want you to fight a man because he's black, Japanese, Latino, German, Russian, and etc. That is a trick from the pits of hell. They want you to fight that and those people so they can keep you ignorant, so they can keep their foot on your neck and cut off your oxygen. And guess what's happening, y'all? White people. I went to court this morning with a not young, but a white man that I got the greatest respect for. I went down to his attorney office this morning. We sat for about 2 hours, and I'm in support of him. Yeah. Now, some of you white folk trying to tell other white folk that George Boston Rhymes is a racist and that I hate white people, when you know what I do. If you don't, white people does, because I've helped white people. Do you remember the white lady? And I've mentioned this before. I think it's time for me to do it again. This lady was, well, the mother really called me and asked me that I know where her daughter was. I didn't know her before this happened. But because I'm involved in civil rights and been covering the jail, her daughter went into jail and they had let her out, I think, two weeks. And she didn't even know it when she called out there. And she didn't know where her daughter was. Come to find out, make a long story short, she was in ICU at South Georgia Medical Center. Didn't know where she was. They had beat her up. Now I ain't gonna say beat her up. They had knocked all her teeth out in the front. She had bruises. You can see this on my YouTube channel. You can Google that. Just Google jail deaths. And the point I'm making is this. The white people who know me, You know I'd come to your aid just as quick as I would a black person. You know that. But see, they want you to believe. They want you to think that when I stand before city council and tell the truth about the CDBG grants and how black folks are not benefiting from those federal dollars when they're supposed to be spent with low-income people, even to giving them jobs to get some of that money to get work done in these low-income project duplexes. Or when I tell you all about the paving of asphalt and the roads here in Valdosta and how black people don't get none of that money from DOT.
At this time, are there any council comments?
Yes.
Mr. Rock.
The mayor and I had some conversations today, which I feel, I don't know, some council members may have heard, may feel some of the same sentiments that we have, but I wanted to share my concerns and where I still stand about the issues of my district and SPLOST itself. In all things social, such as religion, race, and creed, we can be separate as claimants. Yet, we could be as one in all things essential for the shared proper growth of our city. Our communities have supported all 7 SPLOST at the south, east, and north side of our town, being taxed but not being properly developed. I have tried every member that I have known to meet to communicate this problem. I have tried to warn the council of the unrest and concerns of the community. Now we are at a point where we must answer to the people we serve. We can no longer ignore their concerns and leave them unanswered. We must find a way, even distribution of these taxes, ways that we can answer those people's concerns. People have concerns about sidewalks. I gave you the list that I had. And of that list, East Clay Road has been put on an indefinite finish date. Park, indefinite. Beams to Park, indefinite. Hill Avenue, indefinite. Park Avenue, Museum Burn, they have a lead date of August 2013. And I think that they go there, and Mary and I talked with DOT to try to get those done. The water tower has actually started. This piping, I don't know if any problem. Project. Capital project, I don't know. The water and sewer annex, I think it was on the list, but I don't know the lead date for that. Wow. I don't know the lead date or anything like that. The Towntown Fair Housing Loan Program. We met with those people, have a meeting with them, and promised that we would start. We have not started on those projects. The intersection at Brookwood Drive and True, which is a DOT project. There's no word of indication of the start date for that. The detention pond has come in, which we go back and look. I don't know of any dates, start dates on that. South Street improvements. Railroad improvement. I asked about that. I don't know of any dates that we have improvements on that. We have extra sidewalk. I have, since I've been on council, and sidewalks have been in every SPLOST. We have had 7. not, I may be missing it for you, I am a piece of record. I have not known of one sidewalk being installed in the area. District 1 has the fewest sidewalks of any district. District 1 has 35,000 sidewalks. 2, 120,000 sidewalks. District 3, 80,000 sidewalks. District 4, 105,000 sidewalks. 105,000 feet. District 5, 75,000 feet. District 6, 9,000 feet. For a total of 465,000 feet. But my point being, despite sidewalks being on every SPLOST list, our district has not received one sidewalk installed from the SPLOST projects. And I think that is not fair to our community. We are suffering in that area from infrastructure problems, sewage problems. I don't even drink my water. I buy my water. You turn the water on, you automatically smell sewage. So to say that, we'll get our fair share, I don't think that's a fair statement. Your promise things every year when you don't get them. I want to make a request on behalf of my citizens in my area that from the city attorney, I would like to know of an ordinance whereby we could be charged, the utility company can charge us for making improvements to our right of way. We have an ordinance such as that where the utility company can charge us to make improvements to our right of way. I would like to know about that.
You were talking about, I assume you were referring to where the improvements would be done and you'd be charged your footage of it.
No, on city right of way. We want to go to the right of way, like on the MLK project, where that AT&T wire had to be removed.
Yeah.
How AT&T can charge us to remove that wire.
I'm not familiar with any orders we have, but we could deal with that. I'll check on it. That AT&T trying to build you.
Well, not me, I'm about the city.
Oh, that's in litigation right now. That's being challenged by the city.
Okay. But the bill is a law that will allow them to charge us, bill us for improvements of our right of way.
If we in fact are improving the street, yes, there is a state law. Not an ordinance, it's a state law.
They can charge.
We're charge the city. We're contesting that particular one, and we denied the bill. That's been 6 months, and they've yet to file suit.
But these people provide that to me, right?
Sure, yeah.
And finally, the road striping. I don't know when the 30 days up. I would like to know, and the list that I have is I requested, because what is happening now is that these projects go out and citizens, I go back and tell citizens that this project is going to happen on this and this day. Then it don't happen. And then citizens come back to me and ask me again, well, what's going on? And I tell those citizens, well, I don't know, let me check. I get another answer. I tell those citizens, it don't happen again. They come back to me again. And it begins to make them think that I'm not incompetent or I don't know what I'm doing. So it causes a lot of problems, both in stress, aggravation, anxiety. Matter of fact, they can get a picture from this stuff now. And these are the things that I have to deal with on a regular basis. And like I said, I don't think it's fair, not only to me, but to the property development of our city. To the property development of our city. And I'll ask the council support on this. And I just want to let you all know what I see. I'm not with the Tea Party. They probably listen to the Tea Party. I'm not. I might be a person like you, other person. No. I'm not a Tea Party person. I don't think I should have to be convinced of a personal opinion. I think we should be able to sit down and debate an opinion and come to an agreement on how to work out a problem and not have somebody dictate to me their opinion and mine is thrown and theirs is struck. That's all I have to say. Now, thank y'all for listening.
Are there any other council comments?
Or when I talk about the schools that are erected, white contractors been getting all this money from the time the city was started until 2017. The Valdosta High School is a new high-tech, high-class school for a school system that has approximately 75% perhaps all black students. The school costing about $85 million to perhaps $135 million. And black contractors didn't get none of that money. We have blacks on the Valdosta City School Board of Education that didn't give a dime about black contractors getting some of that money to take care of the students that go to that school. And they seem to not care based on the video footage that you can see by going to YouTube channel Boston G.B.R, type in Valdosta New School, $85 million, and you can visit the meetings and you can see what took place.
Issues shall not be discussed in open meetings except as provided for by federal, state, and local law and policy. References to an employee must be made using the terms teacher, administrator, or employee. Persons who refuse to follow accepted rules of conduct may be removed from the meeting. Person speaking must address the Board of Education rather than the audience. And at this time we have listed Pastor Floyd Rose, Black Unemployment. Next will be Darren Neal, and then after Pastor Neal will be John Robinson.
Excuse me. We need some answers tonight. Somebody got to tell us something tonight. Somebody got to tell us we're going to get back with you or something. We ain't heard nothing. I wrote Mr. Sherwood, never heard from him. I don't think y'all somebody got to tell us something tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Somebody got to tell us something tonight. Just tell us what you're going to do, what you're going to do. You can't keep this street black folks back. Madam Chair. Murdering old people. Robberies. Crimes that frighten all of us are being committed in this community. People that frighten us are crying. They're crying because they don't have jobs.
With a Master of Education and a Master of Divinity, a Bachelor of Criminal Justice, a long history, the railroad seeking for me to come back tomorrow. But I stayed here and fight. This entire room wants us to believe that black folk have never been discriminated against. Because he had a pen in the side, but I can talk. Something's got to get done. And I intend to find out every nook and cranny behind this system. If somebody got some money to look the other way, I'm going to find it out. If somebody didn't do what was right, I will not stop till I find it out. We ask y'all, we keep asking y'all, just...
Pastor, 5 minutes.
I stand by the same thing Pastor Rose said. Whatever you got to do, you got to do.
You
Because I'm at the point now where black folk can't keep being treated this way. Our children are being killed on the street, and you want us to believe that it ain't because they black. Ain't nobody in this town getting jobs, and you want us to believe because it ain't because we're black.
As simple as that. Just imagine, this is your magazine, you the one got this here. Just imagine what's coming next. It's not a game. It's not a game. I was in East Penn civil litigation that lasted 12 years. Manuel Noriega was in the basement. My jury for Jersey Football out of Miami. It's not a game. It's not time to play. Now, all you have to do is do what they're requesting and asking you to do. There's nothing complicated about that. If you don't do that, that means we've been lied to. Simple, plain and simple.
Excuse me. We need some answers tonight. Somebody got to tell us something tonight. Somebody got to tell us we're going to get back with this something. We ain't heard nothing. I wrote Mr. Sherwood, never heard from him. I don't think y'all somebody got to tell us something tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. You just call the police because I'm not there. Somebody's got to tell us something tonight. Just tell us what you're going to do, what you plan to do. You just can't keep mistreating black folks.
Madam Chair, I'll tell you what really helps. The contracts around town are fairly distributed now somewhere, at least on the city's behalf. But this contract is the one in which these men just simply want to come in. They've even said, we just want to come in and get a piece of the pie. I got angry because society feels that African American nation is an issue here. It is an issue of discrimination. It is a system that has never disappeared. It's been revamped, reformed. It is still alive and well.
We need some answers tonight. Somebody got to tell us something tonight. Somebody got to tell us we're going to get back with this something. We ain't heard nothing. I wrote Mr. Sherwood, never heard from him. I don't think y'all somebody got to tell us something tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight.
Public participation.
Participation. Again, regulations for public participation. 30 minutes will be set aside at the Board of Education meeting for public comment. The time limit may be increased at the board's discretion. Persons who wish to speak at a meeting must sign in prior to meeting, stating name and topic of discussion. The following rules for addressing the Board of Education shall apply. Up to 2 persons may speak on each side of the issue. Each speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes. Personnel issues shall not be discussed in open meetings except as provided for by federal, state, and local law and policy. References to an employee must be made using the terms teacher, administrator, or employee. Persons who refuse to follow accepted rules of conduct may be removed from the meeting. Person speaking must address the Board of Education rather than the audience. And at this time we have listed Pastor Floyd Rose, Black Unemployment. Next will be Darren Neal, and then after Pastor Neal will be John Robinson.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keeson. When my little boy was in his bassinet one night, asleep, he woke up and he started crying. My wife punched me in my side and said, Floyd, the baby's crying and it's your time. I pulled the cover back, got up, turned on the light, and I walked over to the bassinet and I leaned over and asked him what was wrong with him, as if he could tell me. And he just kept crying. I checked his diaper and it was dry, but he kept crying. I turned the light back off and got back in the bed, and my wife punched me in the side again and said, "Floyd, he's still crying." I said, "Well, I don't know what's wrong. What did you see about it?" So she got up, and as only a mother could do, she took Billy's song in her arms and placed him gently on her left shoulder and jumped him. But the more she jumped him, the more he cried, and that cry eventually became a scream. And then she took him down, set him on the foot of the bed, and checked his diaper. It was dry. But then she discovered that there was an open pin sticking in his little side. We learned that night that Billy didn't want to cry any more than we wanted to hear him cry. He didn't want to disturb his mama and daddy any more than we wanted to be disturbed. But he was hurt. And he had no other way to tell us he was hurt but to cry. The crimes that frighten all of us, breaking and entering, murdering old people, robberies, crimes that frighten all of us are being committed in this community. The people that frighten us are crying. They're crying because they don't have jobs. They're unemployed. And those who have jobs have minimum wage jobs, and they can't take care of themselves or their families. And we all know that. Neil and I went out to the job site. We've been told repeatedly that they're hiring, and all we need to do is just go out there. Well, I went out there 2 days ago. There was an officer there, and we drove right past him and went all the way to the back, and we found 2 men who said that they were in charge of the work site, but they didn't have any jobs. And I said, well, I was told that if black folk just came out here, they could get work. He said that there was no work to be had. Now, I really don't understand that, I'll be honest with you. I don't understand that. This board made a commitment to this community that the people who live in this county would get first, would get jobs first. Well, as it turned out, if you look at the record, most of all of this work, most all of the contractors are not from Lowndes County or Valdosta. They're from Macon, they're from Atlanta, they're from Fayetteville, and other places outside of this county. And according to my figures, nearly 60, perhaps 70% of the work is not being done by local contractors. There have been 2 black men in my office this last week. One of them said that they were told that he was told that he had the lowest bid, but he still didn't get the job. Another young man said that his understanding was that most of the work that he was doing was to pay at least $18 an hour. He was getting only $12 an hour. Now, listen, we've been straight with you all. I have written to Mr. Sherwood, never heard from him.
Counsel, excuse me, your 5 minutes.
I understand that, but I'm not going to quit. You do whatever you have to do. If you need to arrest me, you do that, but I'm going to get through tonight.
Well, let me ask the board, you all
So to
pass the roll your time.
Let it go. Thank you, sir. So we don't know what else to do. We begged, we pleaded, We are not conducting any demonstrations because we wanted to believe that you want to be straight with us because we've been straight with you. But somewhere down the line, we've been lied to over and over and over again. And you just can't expect us to keep going this way. And I'm going to tell you tonight that we're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it. And Brother Neil is going to come. He was with me when we went out. He is the lead investigator and the assistant to the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I think he's scheduled to speak next.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for your time.
Neil.
You know what angers a man who has honorable intentions and honorable desires for his people. I could easily leave Valdosta and walk away. I'm retired. I have no dog in this fight. I've been around the construction business with the railroad for a long time. Watched contracts be given out. Been a part of the process. I could leave today and never look back. With a Master of Education and a Master of Divinity, a Bachelor of Criminal Justice, a long history. The railroad is seeking for me to come back tomorrow. But I stay here and fight. This entire room wants us to believe that black folk have never been discriminated against. I'm angered. I'm highly angered. Because one of the things I've watched across the construction business occur is that the system has always maintained that there were either no blacks capable of doing the job, they could not be bonded, their educational level was diminished, continued to say that there's no discrimination in the system. And yet when you look over the history of Valdosta, you've yet to see, from this point backwards, blacks in control of anything in this town. Ever. Period. The sad part about it is they will come to our community and seek out the most educated and elevate us to positions and give us just enough more than the average person has so that they're silenced and will never stand for their own people. We have a school board that is predominantly black. I saw you sit here a moment ago and linger over making a decision, and it is the first time in this building that I've ever watched you linger over the decision. When a decision is to be made before the person who asks for a motion or a movement to be made, Mr. Lee has already said so moved. And I've watched this board always unanimously vote the same way, the same time, the same station. We put you here so you would objectively challenge what was wrong, systematically tear down what was wrong, but morally do what was right. Period. We did not come here because a bunch of black people showed up and said, give us work because we're black. Y'all stood up in this room and told the black community, if we supported everything you did, you made a binding agreement that is binding here in the state of Georgia, and I intend to pursue that. See, we've been doing it from a civil standpoint. One thing I've learned about the construction business is that money makes everything go around. I won't accuse you of that in here tonight, but I have seen systematically across the system, somebody's palm always gets greased to look the other way and let the contract manager do as he pleases. I left here the last meeting believing that you, with all your heart, intended to make sure these men in this room said, if you just, we won't even fight no more. Just let us work. That's all they asked. And you promise that you do everything in your power to make sure we go to the work site, they tell us there ain't no jobs. We come talk to you, you say there is. We go to the subcontractors, they tell us to go to the contract manager. We go to the contract manager, he tells us to come to you. These people have children, and their children want to eat. I got 6 children that I pay. I go broke every month paying tuition for 6 children because I'm scared to put them in the public school. Yeah. Now you don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. Scrape and scratch to make sure they have everything they can. Making a meager pastor's salary, which ain't a whole lot. But I learned something about my God. Paul said, for we all know all things. I found out as long as I'm doing the right thing, my God will provide for me. And I have been provided for. But I stand in the gap just like Isaiah did. For these people here tonight that can't speak for themselves. As Pastor said, that baby could not talk because he had a pen in his side. But I can talk. Something's got to get done. And I intend to find out every nook and cranny behind this system. If somebody got some money to look the other way, I'm going to find it out. If somebody didn't do what was right, I will not stop till I find it out. We ask y'all, we keep asking y'all, just,
Pastor, 5 minutes.
I stand by the same thing Pastor Room said. Whatever you got to do, you got to do. Because I'm at the point now where black folk can't keep being treated this way. Our children are being killed on the street, and you want us to believe that it ain't because they black. Ain't nobody in this town getting jobs, and you want us to believe because it ain't because we're black. And then you put in the newspaper that black folk just showing up just to get work because we're black. We shook your hand in honesty, and have always shook your hand in honesty. And I'm insulted. I'm insulted right now. I'm hurt. You know why I'm hurt? Because I stood in this town just the other night and stood in a store with an Indian man who looked at me, who talks to me on a daily basis when I'm dressed in clergy attire and calls me sir. And because I was in a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, he looked at me and treated me like crap because he didn't realize who he was. And when I challenged him, and challenged him on how hard my people have worked to try to make this country a good place, he told me it's his turn now. His people are taking over now. That's what he said to me. And I'm angered by it because I stand here with people. I don't stand here tonight just for blacks. I stand here for whites and for blacks. I fought for my country, for white and for black. Not for just blacks. I'm talking for blacks because they don't have a voice and nobody won't listen. And I stood here in honesty. I called Mr. Sherwood, I didn't get a response. We wrote letters, we didn't get a response. We talked to the judge. What does it take? These people just simply say, we want to work. Now you run around saying black folk won't work. You just want to lay up in Hudson Dock and all these other places and just get welfare. That's not so. You can give me the benefit of whatever. If the football coach can stand up and talk for almost 20 minutes over football and y'all ask questions, why can't I?
Pastor, your time is up. You're following the rules. Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Imagine. Just imagine. On page 52 it talks about the New Guidelines High School. Imagine what you just heard. You just heard the facts from both of these gentlemen. And it's time now to quit playing the games and get down to brass tacks and brass business. It's time for you to do what you're required to do. All they're saying is they're expressing their feelings of how we feel. Simple as that. As simple as that. Just imagine. This is your magazine. You're the one got this here. Just imagine
what's coming next. It's not a game. It's not a game. I was the lead plaintiff in a civil litigation that lasted 12 years. Manuel Noriega was in the basement. I judged Hoogler out of Miami. It's not a game. It's not time for play. Now, all you have to do is do what they're requesting and asking you to do. It's nothing complicated about that. If you don't do that, that means you've been lied to. Simple, it's plain and simple. And all people want is to work to the demand of shit. Just to pay. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Adjourn.
We need some answers tonight. Somebody got to tell us something tonight. Somebody got to tell us we're going to get back with you or something. We ain't heard nothing. Now, I wrote Mr. Sherwood, never heard from him. I don't know, y'all, somebody got to tell us something tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. You just call the police, because I'm not moving. Somebody's got to tell us something tonight. Just tell us what you're going to do, what you plan to do. You can't keep mistreating black folks.
Madam Chair, if you would, I called it. Dr. Rose, I called you. These information that you've given us tonight.
That went, and that man just came up with the same list. We switched them down.
Slow cheese. Chair, and let's see what, if anything, can be done to assist. Subcontractors. Can't make anybody hire anybody. Let's see. Agree to dollars. In regards to the ones that has a contract. To see if they need help. Let's do that.
Mr. Lee, it's my understanding that this board can do what it wants to. All you all have to do, and we read the contract, all you all have to do is tell the major contractors that you want them to sit down with us and find a way out of this. You all can do that.
Let's get the dollars.
That's all we asking you to do.
Let's try to get it done.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'm going to hear from somebody?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
You can tell them what I just told you. I can't, the board, I can't consider it wrong. Figure it's probably who will probably consider it. You come back and, fair enough. That's what you just told me. We're being tossed on. Sub telling us one thing, sub telling us one thing, contract managers telling another thing. We can bounce back and forth, ain't nobody dealing with us. We go out to the board and say, the man dismisses, tell us stay in the meeting. I know they quit. Way out. Just hand that to you. So pushing us. They sending us to the contract man. The contract man sends us on, and they all send us back to you, which we know you gonna send us back to them.
We're going to do jobs.
I told Pastor Rose before we got to the job, I said, Pastor, you don't tell us that here. Talk us 5 minutes. He said, wait a minute. Look at me, I said, I told you.
Janet, you have a question? Yes, sir.
I don't think what I read. I've been told that happened. So I have to. You know what he told us? Watch this. Watch this. How long he tell us it would take us to verify that list?
Verify the list.
When we talked about this, he said 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jones. Yeah, you did say 2 weeks.
Who'd you talk to? Brett, no,
the other Brett.
Brett Sutton. Said he hadn't verified the list. Said take us 2 weeks to do that. I said, well, now you had the list a month. Brett Diamond, who is in charge of this, is the man. Now do you see what I'm talking about? Brett Sutton said one thing, Brett Diamond said, the subcontractor said one thing, the contractor said another. They sent us to you, you sent us back to them. We bounced around. You know, part of this thing, we're getting what we want out of it. Because I'll tell you what really helps. The contracts around town are being
fairly distributed now somewhere, at least on the city's behalf. But this contract is the one in which these men just simply want to come in. They've even said, we just want to come in and get a piece of the pie and we'll walk away and hands down. This is an easy fix. It really is.
I'm telling you what I promised you last time, and I stand by that, and I will make sure this happens. If you to this, making sure that list is active. I'll look into what you're telling me later to see into some contract. I
Well, the town has never really left the 60s. Valdosta have never left from where it was segregated. Valdosta have always been a black and white town.
If you want to get ahead in Valdosta, in African American, you would metaphorically kiss the right butt and not complain. And stay on your knees and pray.
It haven't really been any change. You do what you do over there and don't bother nobody or don't make no fuss, and it's all right. Well, the town has never really left the 60s. Valdosta have never left from where it was segregated. Valdosta have always been a black and white town.
To me, and they did, they also can do this to you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and coming generations. Unless somebody is willing to stand up for what is right. Now look, they criticize the Honorable Kendrick Johnson and Jacqueline for simply asking a question. Why could we not view the remains of our son? Why and who removed his organs and they can't be accounted for? Where is our child's clothes that we purchased for them? How could it be that information...
Hey, sir, can I stop you for a second?
Just a minute. Now,
okay, how long are you going to take? Because I can't be here all day.
Now, right now, I'm here's the Lowndes County Sheriff's Department, the very people I'm talking about.
The police department.
The Valdosta Police Department.
Okay, I just need you for 30 seconds.
And what I want to do, I'm going to turn off the video because I want to listen to them. Now, yes, sir, what do you want? If they did this to me, and they did, they also can do this to you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and coming generations. Unless somebody is willing to stand up for what is right. I cannot go to any football game. I cannot go to any Board of Education meeting. I've been banned for 2 years and 5 months after the death of Kendrick Johnson, and I'm going to continue to talk about it until somebody in the United States of America see a need that this military, retired military veteran with over 21 years in the United States Armed Forces, until somebody say to me and those active duty members I left behind that where did all the love go? Somebody tell me where did it go? If they did this to me, and they did, they also can do this to you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and coming generations. Unless somebody is willing to stand up for what is right. This 14-year-old girl that were handcuffed with her face down at Pine Grove Middle School under Wes Taylor, the superintendent of Lowndes County Schools. When the mother and father went to news media to report what happened to their daughter, no news media until this day, after 99 days, much like mine, criminal trespass and denial of my constitutional rights, nothing has been reported in the news media in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. And so we can only imagine how many more mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and parents have had the same thing to happen to them in the school system. And our local news media in South Georgia, we commend them for the outstanding work that they do. But at the same time, we must ask the question, why, oh why, did this mother have to cry out as you gonna see in this video? Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, KYRC, saying Know Your Rights campaign. There is something wrong here in the United States of America. Something wrong when a 14-year-old child can be charged with a felony, and then the people who they say she assaulted or hit send statements and say it never took place. The charges was not dropped against this young girl, black African-American type. We, the people of the United States of America, more especially those who have put their lives on the line in foreign nations, we better ask some questions today, or we are losing this republic, y'all. Now listen to this mother. Listen to her as she tells you her story and the lack of justice here in Lowndes County, Georgia. Listen, please. Tell us what happened today. We at the Lowndes County Courthouse just got out with Judge Ellaby. Tell us what took place there, and did you receive justice for you and your daughter?
No, I actually did not receive justice because it was amazing to me. Judge Ellaby presided over the case when it was supposed to be Judge Terry Adams. I don't know why they put him over the case because he knows nothing, supposedly nothing about the case, but unfortunately they put him on the case, and his track record is not good when it comes to our black people and our black children. He has been known to put them in jail for the littlest things that don't even make sense for them to be incriminated for, and yet they allowed him to be over this case. That lets me know that this place is nothing but a setup, and just really a setup to make sure that this not lawyer, but the police officer does not get arrested. And it's amazing to me how things work here. There's no justice. There's no justice for my child. But it would be a different story if it was their child going through the same situation. Then they'd be crying, wanting somebody to help them. But because it's my child, and I guess because of her skin color, she doesn't matter. This judge was very nasty. On top of it, he was very rude, telling my daughter that he see with her grades, the only thing she'll be able to do is be a singer or an artist or a painter or something of that nature. That is derogatory because first of all, she had good grades and she's passed. And like I explained to him, she's making A's in her 9th grade now. She's an A student. Now what's your excuse for the comment?
Okay, let's back up a little bit now. What generated all of this? You gave us information, but on May the 24th, that been 99 days ago. The reason I know it because I'm under criminal trespass. The next day, the sheriff or deputy lied on me, so it seemed like they lied on you the day before. Yeah. I mean, on your daughter. So that's 2 in 1. But look, let me ask you, my beautiful. Let me ask you another question. I personally was in there, and I think that you did an outstanding presentation. So did your husband. But I just don't have no confidence in the Southern Judiciary. Period. I have a long history as the former president of the NAACP with Judge Ellaby. And he's been very controversial now, but to get back to what you said, to make it be pointed, who was the judge that's supposed to have been over this?
Judge Terry Adams. And the sad part about it, we were told from her that she was going to move the case over to the Supreme Court. Now, how did it get back into her case?
You mean Supreme Court, Superior Court?
Superior Court. And how did it get back in her file and then turn around, Judge Ellaby is over the case?
You also talked about, and you brought up the fact that what you was concerned about was the protection of other kids, so no other child would be handcuffed and taken down like a murderer. Really, you could not have taken a murderer down any worse than this 14-year-old child. And to sit here and watch Judge Ellerby do this, in my most humble opinion, to me it was a disgrace. I really must say that. But we have said it over and over again. There is something real wrong here in Valdosta and Lowndes County. Wouldn't you say?
Yes,
well, even not only that. My beautiful sister, excuse me for touching you, but check this. Wouldn't you say that even more disgraceful is that what happened to your daughter at Pine Grove Middle School and under Wes Taylor, who's the superintendent of the school? Isn't it more disgraceful that not one newspaper, not one radio that I know of or television station covered this whole thing? So how do you think these parents feel out here, and the general people in this metro city? They don't even know not only about what is here today, but they don't know nothing about what happened at school and your child. What do you think about that?
I think it's a disgrace because the facts are the facts. He wanted me to present the facts, so I presented the facts. And how can you, based on the facts, showing that the teacher and the principal collaborated our story and collaborated what had transpired, and this officer wrote a false report and falsely arrest my daughter, say he's not guilty? Based on the facts I presented, showed the picture of her being arrested, showed the picture of emails from the teacher and the principal that he allowed to be in evidence, and yet and still he said that
he read it into the record. Am I correct?
Yes, he did.
Read it into the record. Now, but the thing about it, unless you appeal it or something like that, and since there were no news media about none of this, we can only imagine how many other people have gone through the same thing. I know I didn't violate it at all, and I'm in my 99th day, 98th day. She's in her 99th day. In a couple of days, it'll be over 100 days that I've been restricted without any one respecting my rights. Any other closing remarks? I think your husband did an outstanding job too. And you made it. Wait a minute. You clarified this. You made this very clear that you have knowledge in the law enforcement field to the judge. And why do you think that he seemed like he had trouble understanding what you say? Do you think it because he's white, he can't understand black folk? Why do you and your husband had to keep repeating? I understood what you all said very well. And I think that if anybody go back and listen to that tape, they probably ask a question, why did he have you all to repeat what you were saying when it should have been even understood by a person in kindergarten or third grade?
Not to mention, the reporter didn't have a hard time understanding while she was reading it into the notes. So how is it he had a hard time understanding? The judge's mind was already made up when he came into court, because based on the evidence that we presented, there is no way he should have came out unless without a guilty verdict. Everything that you brought up, including the pictures, the statement from Mr. Yarborough, who actually stated that your daughter didn't even hit her. And that was the base of the wasn't that a felony? Yes, that was the base of the felony. And yet and still, how can you say it was based on the felony? The people that were involved was based on it. We gave them information from those particular people, and you can't still justify and say that she did the act. That's falsifying records. I don't know where he got his degree from, but that's falsifying records. And if anybody, wow, this is heavy. To me, the precedent that was set today in this courtroom is this. The law enforcement, a sheriff deputy, can take any child, hog tie them, handcuff them, throw them to the ground, and charge them with a felony, suspend them from school for 5 days, force the parents to go out and get a lawyer in these hard economic times to defend their child. And if you don't have the guts, number one, and if you don't have the money, then you will plea bargain. That's it. You think that's what they want you to do? Yeah, that's what they've been trying to do. And, when we had the public defender, that was his main goal. Oh, we'll take the battery charge off if you just plea bargain to the fray and disrupting. But under the castle doctrine law, my daughter had a right to defend herself. She was attacked. That's the part that I'm still amazed of. She was attacked. But here's the thing. Maybe if we would have brought a white girl in and pretend that she was my daughter, there would be some sympathy.
Wow. let's go back to what got me, and this is why the Ghetto Free Press, KYRC, the Ghetto Free Press, KYRC, which means Know Your Rights campaign. This is why we're going to take it to the next level. They can come after me, but I will assure you that there's going to be somebody else that will pick up the camera, because this cannot go on. The Georgia Secretary of State, Georgia Attorney General, I'm saying to you, something is wrong in the state of Georgia, and Eric Holder of the Justice Department, I don't know why y'all getting paid up there. If you cannot see from what I have already presented, over 20 years of proof, documentation in a very professional military manner, which I was trained to do, and you still cannot come down and do something in this God-forsaken place called Lowndes County, Valdosta, and South Georgia in general. Now, the most important part, in my most humble opinion, we have missed. So let's go back before we close this out on the Ghetto Free Press. First of all, the judge told you when you asked for a continuance, he said that they sent it out to you on the 12th.
Yes.
After checking his records, he found out it was sent out on the 13th.
The 14th.
The 14th, which means you only had a few days, am I correct?
Yes.
To subpoena these people.
Yes.
When you ask for a continuance, I have seen people get continuance for little or nothing.
Yes.
And so, what do you think about him? Right off, it came to I said to myself from then, I said, you're not going to get into justice in this case, not under Judge Ellaby.
No,
that's what I said.
I mean, I knew of him, and I knew his track record, and I know that I was not going to get any justice. I just pray that God would probably touch his heart, and he'll do the right thing for the first time in his life. But I guess he one of those people like Pharaoh. His heart is stone.
And again, the history of Judge Ellaby go way back with the NAACP, the SCLC, Jesse Jackson people, Attorney Janice Mathis from Atlanta came down concerning the problem that we had. Now, if this particular case had been given some type of media exposure other than my YouTube, which I have over 250,000 views. So I got a call this morning, you may not know, I got a call this morning from Korea. People are watching this information, and they saying, what is happening in the New South? Well, this is what's happening in the New South, but you don't read about it in the Valdosta Daily Times, which means in years to come, when people pick up the Valdosta Daily Times and look at television video, they won't see none of this. Now, the Secretary of State made a statement in the Equipment Free Press a few months ago, that if it's not published in the local newspaper, it didn't happen. Well, I'm not going to call the Secretary of State a lie because he was the one being interviewed. I'm not going to call the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, a liar, but I will say this, he is wrong. This particular case did happen because we just left out the courtroom, but nothing was published in no South Georgia news media. The Valdosta Daily Times, Kay Harris, are fully aware of it. Greg from Channel 6 are aware of it. People from 27, ABC, NBC are aware of this. So now we got to ask ourselves a question. How many other black children, or poor white children in particular, have been caught up in the same thing? But because we don't have a news media to report cases like this, then you all are, as I said before, deaf, dumb, and blind, because they don't want you to know.
Because at the end of the day, it's my daughter that's being affected. It's my household that's being affected. But no one seems to care about our well-being. It's as if we are nothing here. And it's sad to say, because she was unjustly done wrong. And now she was being unjustly done wrong by the court system. Time and time again, we're being justly done wrong. Who is going to stand up? These people go to church every Sunday saying they worship Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, but yet they have no heart to do the right thing. What book are you picking up? I just want to know what book, because he's a God of truth. And if you feel the truth, you'll do the right thing, and you'll make it known that what you have done is an injustice and it's wrong to an innocent 14-year-old who never should have went through this. She was assaulted. She was attacked. And we're going through the courts for people who don't seem to care nothing. What God you serve? If it's your white Jesus, he still say truth. Because the Jesus I know has no color. He loves all people and he does right by everybody. Get that, Jesus. Because it's time out for the foolishness. You have enfranchised my family over and over again. You have hurted us tremendously. I am so broken over this. So distraught over this. I'm so tired over this. What is right is right. Do the right thing. And you people out there that happen to watch this, start calling the governor. Start making it be known. Maybe if we get a cry out, these people will do the right thing. Because justice needs to be prevailed.
One other question, my beautiful sister. I gotta ask you this. Did he show any concern whatsoever?
No.
Did he? Did he show any concern? Let me stand with you on this. I don't want you to stand alone on this.
I told him how much this was affecting our family. He showed no concern, no remorse. He was sarcastic. He talked down about my daughter as if to think that she can't be nothing but something little belittled. How is it my child can be belittled? She did not make bad grades. She graduated. She went to the next grade level. She's making honor roll like I said to him. So now, that same child that you looked at crazy like you was shocked, we're not ignorant poor blacks, okay? That you look down to. And you got the nerve to tell us to get a lawyer. We don't need you to tell us to get that. We know we need a lawyer in this place. We know we do. And then you talk about, oh, we got good lawyers in Valdosta. Who can trust the lawyers in Valdosta? To be honest with you, it was very hard for us to make a decision because of the fact who was going to present our daughter's case, who was going to do the right thing, who was not going to be bought by this system, who was not going to be afraid to stand up and speak out against the corruption and the enfranchisement that they have placed upon us. That's what we were concerned about. We don't want nobody taking our case who's going to sit there and lay down and not do nothing.
Again, this was my question. Did he show any concern to the fact that number one, your daughter didn't hit nobody. Number two, that the people who started the fight was not even hog-tied, nor handcuffed, nor nothing. Well, they were charged, right? But it seemed as if, though, from looking at what happened to your daughter, wouldn't you not say that they seemed like they made your daughter look like the aggressor when all she was doing was defending herself even under some law that you stated?
Yes.
Close this out by expounding on that.
She was not the aggressor. She was defending herself. She was attacked by more than one child. And then he has the statement, the reason why we got resource officers in the schools for bad children. So what are you saying? All our children are bad? What determines they're bad? Their color? What determines they're bad? Because you read the statement, he read the statement, she had not been in trouble. His eyes buckled up like he was shocked and surprised. She had never been in trouble until that incident when she was attacked. He showed no remorse for what she's been going through. I had her to stand up so he could look her in the face and see how little and framed she is.
And your husband gave her weight versus the officer's weight, yes. 200 and some pounds.
A plus.
And he also talked about how Mr. Yarbrough or somebody pulled her
yes.
out of the way or
and
just...
he's like 160 something.
Yeah, just moved somebody over. Yet this deputy, who's a trained, professional law enforcement officer, couldn't handle the situation without
tackling her. There's a matrix. When someone escalate, you escalate. When they de-escalate, you de-escalate. The situation was de-escalate. The teacher had already had her calm, standing to the side when he tackled her. That's the facts. There was no reason for him to do that because I don't know what their mindset was. I know the matrix. That's something you learn in law enforcement. There was no justification for what he did. And then to falsify the records after you have the teacher, after you have the principal stating she did not touch anybody, that alone was evidence that this case should have been thrown out. He should have been arrested. That alone, because it proves the facts.
So nothing will happen to that officer. He won't be counseled. No. He won't be reprimanded.
He won't be
talked to and say.
And he's able to do it again to somebody else's child.
Now, if he falsified the records, that means in his mind or anybody would take that as a precedent that you can lie, you can say that you struck individual, which is a felony in the state of Georgia, that it's okay to do that. Am I correct? In other words, any child at the school.
This is not the first time a teacher or someone in authority has lied on a student and said they were struck. This is not the first time. I've heard cases that this has happened in this city. So they're just giving them an okay stamp to say we can do this over and over again to the children.
Let's add one other thing. Now, do you think the Georgia Attorney General, Sam Olsen, approves of this, number one? Or number two, do you think that the Georgia Bar Association will look at these records and will look at what Judge Ellaby did here today? And do you think they could find something that they may need to look at it to make the parents get some type of confidence in a system that their children will be protected at the schools in the state of Georgia, if they look at it?
If they look, they will find the truth. Bottom line, they will find the truth and they'll find evidence to prove that something needs to be done. That's the key word, if they look at it. If they take the initiative to come down and check the records and see for themselves what really goes on in these school systems, they'll find plenty of evidence and plenty of proof that injustice has been done in the school system. And they just gave this officer the okay to continue to do what he's been doing, lying, deceiving, and writing false reports and falsely arresting children. My daughter, that's what they failed to realize. My daughter is the victim. She is the victim. And I guess if you want to make it plain as day, black and white.
In fact, if you have proven that, and you tried to explain to him, am I correct, that the video spoke for itself?
Yes.
You outlined it so beautiful. I watched it, and I'm at least of average intelligence, and military say slightly above. And I understood clearly what you said. It seemed as if though he didn't really want you to say that.
No. He didn't want me to say anything about the video. He didn't actually want to put the emails in, but I kept insisting on it. I kept insisting on, look at the video. The video tells it for itself. But he refused to. His mind was made up when he first came here. He thought he was dealing with a child that had a bad, was bad in school and got into an altercation. That's his mindset, because like he said, I used to be on the juvenile justice, on the juvenile court. So your mindset is that every child is bad. Every child is not bad. Every child does not get into trouble. Unfortunately, my daughter was attacked by people she thought that were her friends. That was caused this altercation. She thought these were her friends. So there was no reason for her to be like, on guard, because she thought these girls were her friends. And they attacked her on the last day of school. That's the bottom line. She is suffering from this.
Once again, I think that I'm going to provide you a copy of this video. And there's a possibility that you can send this. And I think you personally, I think you need to request a transcript from what happened and took place here today and send it to the Justice Department, the Georgia Attorney General, and the Georgia Bar Association. The Georgia Bar Association got to find out what's going on here in the Southern Judiciary. This is why I have been saying from day one, the Quitman 10+2 in Brooks County, it almost is over 3 years and they have not gone to court. I just don't believe that you can get justice nowhere in the Southern Judiciary. Go ahead.
I just want to also instate why we're in court, because he was like, where's your lawyer? Oh, your lawyer probably did not want to be a part of this because he knew this was wrong. First of all, our lawyer did not tell us any of the such. Matter of fact, I would tell you what he said, but I won't do that right now because of the simple fact that's going to be taken care of at a later date. But he never advised us not to do as such. He saw the evidence himself. Your public defender saw the evidence, and he saw that she was innocent. That's probably why he excused himself. And then this particular lawyer you gave me don't want to do his job. That's why we have to get our own lawyer. It is not that our lawyer, or we didn't, our lawyer said, oh, he don't want to touch that. That is not the truth. You need to stop lying on folks, and you're supposed to be a judge. That's just the bottom line. You can't make accusations and you don't know what transpired. We know that we need a lawyer. We didn't bring the lawyer because the lawyer is representing our daughter. We didn't know that we had to use him for this particular case. We wanted the separation, to be honest with you, because we didn't want nothing that could not be used, that was used in this case, not be used in the next case.
Okay, you've stated earlier, I'm so sorry it's taking so long, I wasn't planning on talking this long, but you also stated earlier, and your husband as well, that you got that case going on. But if I have Tim, your husband, correctly, he said that the reason why he went to the other judge, they don't know nothing about what you went through just to get that done.
Yes.
And enough emphasis can't be put on the fact that when you want to file a complaint, whoever at the sheriff department and top level management said they didn't even have any forms for you to make a complaint.
No.
And so in Lowndes County, It seems like as if though we back in the
There
30s.
must be something going on, because I see the police department, I see the news people, media coming out to speak now, but when we needed someone to talk concerning us, they didn't show up. But they want to show up now, I guess, to hear what they had, that he's found innocent. But yet it's still the evidence proved that he was guilty.
And once again, I personally called the news media, left a message. I called the Valdosta Daily Times, told them about that this was taking place. We are going to continue. We are going to continue to keep the news in front of the American people here in the state of Georgia, because I believe that you all have a right to know.
So if those evidence was not accurate, why did he make it permissible in the court? Why did he put it into evidence? So if they were saying, oh, there was missed stuff quoted, he took those emails and put it inside in the court case. So all of a sudden, now all of them here to do what? To do what?
Yeah.
Then now they can come and show up now. But when I was trying to present the case concerning my daughter, I couldn't get nobody to show up. But now, what is it? You go ahead and record it.
Okay. Once again.
WCTV.
Channel 6.
And 27.
Channel 6.
They here now, but they couldn't come here to do what we asked
Channel
them to do.
6 and Channel WALB is here as well. Yeah. But those are for other issues, I'm sorry, I'm sure. And we can see that this has always been the case here. And this is what we've been talking about. Here in Valdosta, in Lowndes County, and in the state of Georgia, there is something seriously wrong. And as this mother here said, she knows something wrong. We in the black community have been knowing something was wrong. The only difference now is...
It's not heard because of my skin tone, and I am not a racist, and I'm hurt because where I grew up in Miami, and if you know anything about Miami, there's all nationality, and we all get along. But moving to Georgia and the south part of the side, I found out race is a big issue. And because my daughter is a black child, she can't get no justice. She can't get no justice.
Can't even get news coverage.
She can't get news coverage because she's a black child. But if it was a white child, they would be lining up for days just to hear what we have to say. And it's sad. The skin tone, because we're coming against somebody that is of another race, we can't get our justice.
Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, KYRC, Know Your Rights campaign. To me, and they did, they also can do this to you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and coming generations. Unless somebody is willing to stand up for what is right. Now look, they criticize the Honorable Kendrick Johnson and Jacqueline for simply asking a question. Why could we not view the remains of our son? Why and who removed his organs and they can't be accounted for? Where is our child's clothes that we purchased for them? How could it be that information...
Hey, sir, can I stop you for a second?
Just a minute. Now,
okay, how long are you going to take? Because I can't be here all day.
Now, right now, I'm fit to hear the Lowndes County Sheriff Department, the very people I'm talking about.
No, I'm not the police department.
The Valdosta Police Department.
Okay, I just need you for 30 seconds.
And what I want to do, I'm going to turn off the video because I want to listen to them. Now, yes, sir, what do you want?
What do you think, who do you think has the power to break this system? And what do you think needs to be done? Like, who needs to be uniting together, you know?
Thank you very much. You are really nice and you are powerful. That is a powerful question. What could bring about that change is, as I said, if the football games were interrupted, if these people find a way to not play football until some change come to Valdosta. In fact, I believe that sports perhaps is the only way that real change is going to come here. I say that because right now we are known around the nation as Titletown, USA. But we are not only Titletown in football in terms of producing good football players. We are also Titletown when it comes to unsolved murders and killings, unsolved deaths in the jail. They say they have rats as big as cats in the jail. So perhaps we also have the title for having the biggest rats in any jail. So when they talk about Titletown, I think that football and those who benefit from the game, once the games are boycotted, I don't like the word boycotted, but it may have to be done. So a lot of this change gonna have to come through black folks taking on the initiative, along with white people who want to see change and foster in change. So the bottom line, and bringing it home again, the power of breaking this system is in the hand of the people who can show the people in the state of Georgia that we are not back in the 1800s.
To me, and they did, they also can do this to you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and coming generations. Unless somebody is willing to stand up for what is right. Now look, they criticize the Honorable Kendrick Johnson and Jacqueline for simply asking a question. Why could we not view the remains of our son? Why and who removed his organs and they can't be accounted for? Where is our child's clothes that we purchased for them? How could it be that information...
Can I stop you for a second?
Just a minute. Now,
okay, how long you gonna take? Because I can't be here all day.
Now, right now, I'm fit to hear the Lowndes County Sheriff Department, the very people I'm talking about.
No, I'm Valdosta Police Department.
The Valdosta Police Department.
Okay, I just need you for 30 seconds.
And what I want to do, I'm going to turn off the video because I want to listen to them. Now, yes, sir. What do you want?
Okay, I just want. We got a call about you out in traffic, and we didn't see you in traffic, but we just came here to ask if you were stepping out. And if you were, we're not saying you were, but if you were, please stay on the sidewalk. We're just getting calls about it, so we're coming out here just to make sure you were okay and everything's okay, all right? Is that good?
That's perfect. Will you please tell Chief Childress that I appreciate him responding to the citizens of this community?
Yes, sir.
I think that's the best thing that can be done. I think that's what needs to be done. I wish somebody would respond to me being under a 2-year, 5-month criminal trespass and banned from Lowndes County High School without violating any law. And if that had not happened to me, I would not be standing here on public property, not in the street. And I want you to know, and I want the person that called in, that they gave you their name, tell them that they are a liar and the truth is not in them. For I am an upright, retired military veteran that served my country. Officer King. And New.
Yes, sir.
And be sure to pass this on to Chief Children. Tell him I appreciate him doing what we are paying them to do.
Feel free to do your thing. Just please try to watch traffic and all that stuff, okay?
I've been doing this since 75. Okay. Take care of yourself. Come on, my beautiful brother. Shake my hand. I ain't got nothing wrong. Y'all good people. And we got a lot of people that... Look, this is what it's on. Y'all can go ahead and thank you very much. I appreciate you, man. I want you all to say something. Look, let me say this to you all. You know, this is what happened. You know, everybody got something to say about people when they try to do what is right. I have not violated any law. Yet somebody gonna say I'm out of here in traffic. Isn't that something? Liars. They apparently are of their father, the devil. The wicked one. But all I want to say to you is that I love them. I know why they're doing what they're doing. And sooner or later, you're going to see it clearer than what you've ever seen it. Because I made sure that I understood what Deputy Thomas said to me. He said to me, if I go as far...
You go in this area, you will get arrested, okay?
Okay, where can I try?
You can stay right here.
Okay, they got a public meeting down here, so you're telling me I can't go to the public meeting?
I do not know anything
I got you, but there's a public meeting.
All I'm saying is...
I'm not going.
I've been told.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that there's a public meeting down here, so you all telling me that I cannot go to a public meeting, and I haven't violated no law.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna do like you're saying, but
you have a criminal trespass warning for the area of Lowndes High School.
Okay. Everybody, all of us do.
No.
Well, I do.
As far as I know, it's just you.
Is that right?
As far as I know.
Okay, I don't want to hold up traffic. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do, bro?
Go back out this way.
Okay, man, this is gonna be interesting in court.
Now, what I published on those videos, the Valdosta Daily Times, I repeat, the Valdosta Daily Times editor did not publish what you will find on those videos in terms of what the black contractors, black pastors, and people got up and talked about during the bidding process on that new school. And not only that, I talked about it during the videos when these meetings took place. So I'm not saying anything now that I did not say at the time. And I put it in a time capsule so you could see it. And I even called out the local TV stations and newspapers and asked them, why are you all ignoring the beef? I say it again because you're going to hear it on the video. Why are you ignoring the beef of what takes place at public meetings here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia? And I said to you all then, you are ignoring the news, but soon they're going to be ignoring you. And so guess what? If they continue to ignore the news, one day the Valdosta Daily Times, the TV stations, ABC, CBS, Fox, and the rest of them, they going to shut you down, man. You won't have no free presses no more, man. But see, you all are looking at skin color, and you're not looking at the founding fathers of this great republic, and you don't give a dime about the Constitution and our amendment rights. You don't care about that. But sooner or later, you are going to see the big picture. And then you're going to look around and you're going to say, you know what? I didn't listen to that little gray-bearded man, George Boston RHYNES. But now we see it clear because we no longer have a Valdosta Daily Times. We no longer have a TV station because the government have just shut you down. Because they don't want the people to know the truth, because they are in opposition to what Jesus said in St. John 8:32. And what did Jesus say? Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth, for the truth shall set and make you free. And if the truth will set you free, the wicked don't want you free, man. Don't you get it? They don't want you to have the truth.
Somebody will say, oh, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. These are foolish people.
They don't want you to have the truth. CNN now is making me sick with a capital S. Why are they making me sick? I'm tired of them claiming to be publishing the news, and all they are doing is publishing opinions from other white people. You may have a couple blacks up there, but they are blacks who will not stand on the issues. They are blacks who will not do the investigative reporting that will go deep into the crust of the problem. So when they bring that truth out, the American people will understand that this government was set up power to the people and not to the few in the clique and among the slicks. Now, I know y'all saying to me, Ryan, why are you talking like this today? May I respond? Victor Blackwell, CNN, may I respond? May I respond, Valdosta Daily Times editor? I'm talking like this because when I left Brooks County 18 miles west of Valdosta, the Vietnam War was still going on. And wherever I was called to go during my 20 years in the armed forces for this country, I was willing to go because I believed in what they had fooled me or tricked me into believing: freedom, justice, and equality. But now today, I know that you lied to me. I don't have to take your word no more. I took your word yesterday. But today I can see for myself that America has lied to me. And because you lied to me, in one way, you did me a disservice, but in the other way, oh, you were my greatest blessing. Because I see the truth. There you go with Jesus again. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set and make you free. Now people are wondering, why do I speak like I speak? And they're asking me, who trained you to get this level of understanding in a world such as this? It is by the power of the living God. The Bible says, for if you suffer with me, then you can reign with me. For in the power of the tongue lies life and death. And so when I see wicked people masquerading as Christians, as Muslims, as Jews, as Hindu, or as you, but you can't stand up. You can't speak up. We got 435 representatives in Congress. They're not standing up and saying, President, you lied. Well, if the president lied, somebody need to tell him he lied.
I have been on their cover like 14 or 15 times. I think we have the all-time record in the history of Time magazine.
The audience was the biggest ever, but this crowd was massive. Look how far back it goes. This crowd was massive.
I guess it was the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan.
Obamacare covers very few people. The fake media goes, Donald Trump has changed his stance on China. I haven't changed my stance.
Now, the Paris Agreement, they all say it's non-binding. Like hell, it's non-binding.
From the trivial to the important, those are just some of the lies that the New York Times included in its massive new list of every lie Donald Trump has told in the first 154 days of the Trump presidency. The list of Trump lies filled an entire page of the New York Times, yesterday's print edition of the New York Times. It includes only what the Times calls demonstrably false statements. The Times reports that Donald Trump publicly told a lie on 20 of his first 40 days in office, when the Times used what it called a broader standard, one that includes his many misleading statements. It found that he said something untrue every day for the first 40 days of his presidency, and on 74 out of 113 days after that. An example of what the Times called misleading was the president exaggerating military spending in the Middle East.
Well, if the president lied, somebody need to tell him he lied. Don't you remember what Moses did in the volume of Sacred Law? Moses didn't get behind no tree. Moses didn't go behind or deep in the woods and tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Let my people go. Let my people go. Let my people go. And say, God said, let my people go. And so the question today is, what are you going to say? Are you going to sit and see the duly and don't say nothing? Well, I'm not of that ilk. I believe in Joel, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse, which says, blow ye the trumpet in Zion. Sound an alarm in my holy mountains. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh and is nigh at hand. So If you have a trumpet to blow, that's your lips. If you have a trumpet to blow, it's time for you to blow it so that people can get up out of the dry bones of the valley so people can breathe, man. People need to breathe. People need to breathe. And in closing, Jesus knew that men and women and children needed to breathe, and that's why he left it on record. And you shall know the truth, for only the truth will set you free. And so without truth, you're not breathing, man, you're suffocating. You are suffocating, and eventually you're going to end up a dead man. As it is written, so shall it be done. Once again, don't be amazed by what Trump is doing. What you need to be worrying about is what your 435 representatives are doing. What you need to understand is what your news media are doing and ignoring. How you doing, my brother? All right, peace. And I'm going to say this to you as I close. Keep your eyes open on God, because Trump is not in control of this thing, y'all. If you think Trump in control, you are Satan yourself. This is the Ghetto Free Press, and I just want to show you down in Jacksonville, Florida, how the news media came out in support of our form of government, which is freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and just overall freedoms to do what the founding fathers of this great republic said, and that is that we have rights. You see the satellite antennas because they want you to know what is going on under our form of government. You see all the major news media here. There's Fox News, FoxJack.com, First Coast News, FirstCoast.News, WTLV, ABC. You have so many varieties of different cameras, all down here for the Michael Dunn trial after the death of Jordan Davis. Once again, this is Big Jack, and this is the Ghetto Free Press doing what we do because it must be done. Once again, we are doing what must be done under our form of government. I served 21 years in the United States Armed Forces, and today I'm 260 days under a criminal trespass warning issued by the Lowndes County Sheriff Prime or by Wes Taylor, the superintendent of Lowndes County High School. I really don't know who issued it, but I do know it was issued, and I do know that I was told by one of Deputy Thomas during a rally in support of Kendrick Johnson death, and the mother and father who said they have too many questions that have not been answered. I am intended to show the world the best on our form of government, and that is that we are a free and democratic community. And if we are not a true democracy wherein citizens have rights, then we might as well take our flag down. We might as well call our boys back from Europe, call our boys and girls back from Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, and Pakistan, and let them come back home and fight for the rights of the everyday common citizen right here in the United States of America. I served during the Vietnam era, and for the Lowndes County governments not to address my issues of an illegal trespass warning, I had violated no law in the state of Georgia or in the United States of America, and yet I am banned, restricted from going on any Lowndes County high school or Lowndes County school property. And the even more sickening, Sheriff Prine told me, it's all been documented, that he would get back with me and check and see if there was a trespass warning. And like Kenneth Johnson, the father of KJ, said, somebody lied to him. Well, I stand assured And I stand 100% certain that no one have gotten back with me. And so I'm going to continue to do what I do in our form of government. If I could fight in foreign nations, and if I could stand up for the democracy of nations in the communist world and tell them we are the beacon of hope, then truly we, the people, should have a voice in the United States of America. And so I'm going to close this out now. But I want you to know that as the big cameras come to Jacksonville, the Valdosta Daily Times, nor any other local South Georgia television station have addressed my criminal trespass warning. They have never reported the 14-year-old girl that was hog-tied, face down at Pine Grove Middle School. We see people are being interviewed because this is the way it's supposed to be done under our form of government. But nobody in South Georgia have interviewed the 14-year-old girl mother and father. The mother personally gave the TV stations the package of what happened to her daughter. And do you not know that they still didn't report it? They didn't even report it to the common folk in Valdosta, let alone the people in the state of Georgia and around the nation. So that means we better question our government. Do we really have a government all for and by the people? Once again, I'm down here at Duval County Courthouse. And I was in the courtroom once again. I was in the courtroom, but Officer Guttridge told me I could not enter back into the room from the judge's request. What is it that they don't want the people to know? Or was it because the new Black Panther Party was here? They didn't do nothing. They just exercised their rights as being a citizen in this country. Well, be that as it may, we're looking for justice. Law enforcement is everywhere, and we thank God for them. After all, they are our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, and our brothers. And many black officers have a story to tell, but they can't tell it because they too are living in fear. But they know the truth, and they are beginning to tell us, as well as the Black Panthers, what the real deal is behind the curtain. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, doing what I do because it must be done.
This is your First Amendment right to know without whiteouts from a controlled news media whiteout network. And we are located in Valdosta, Georgia, and we are here to inform, educate, and persuade if necessary.